everyone, and thank you for joining us for another of the Society's continuing series of educational webinars. Today our topic is going to be on later life home transitions, and our presenter is Nan Hayes. Nan is an industry expert in the field of later lifestyles and home transitions, which include moving, downsizing, organizing, and remodeling to age in place. Since 2000, the year 2000, Nan has provided project management and planning services for seniors through her company Right-Sized Living. In 2004, Nan began to focus on industry standards and, with the support of national organizations, launched the MoveSeniors.com online network and spearheaded the Certified Transition Specialist certification program. Today, the MoveSeniors.com network supports thousands of qualified providers in a variety of fields throughout the U.S. and Canada. We're very pleased to have her with us today. Nan, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I will, as you know, nothing's ever perfect. As we're getting ready to start here, if you heard the beeping of the construction truck, they've decided to plant a tree right outside my window. So I'm hoping we don't have too much background noise. I apologize for that. I will try and talk over the workmen. If it gets too bad, hopefully you guys can notify CSA there, and we may have to postpone. I'm so sorry. It's one of these unplanned things. Anyway, that aside, thank you so much for having me here. I'm thrilled to be here. Our topic today is about later life transition, slightly different than what may have been posted, but it's important that as professionals across a variety of disciplines to understand that you're going to come across a lot of clients who are making that transition from their homes to a community, moving across the country, downsizing, or remodeling to age in place. These are all things that we consider transitions. Whether you're in finance, insurance, realty, home care, professional organizing, all of those things, it helps when we take time to review the emotional and physical struggles our clients are dealing with, and perhaps apply a little bit of science as well as some new services to support those things. Oop. Okay, I'm sorry to say my forward button is not working. Uh-oh. Okay, sorry. Today, so we're going to cover generally what we consider to be late life transitions. What are we talking about? Talking about a transition team, the team of providers that you're going to be work with in your local market areas or already do work with to support your senior clients. And then very briefly touch on some marketing strategies as CSAs, which is of course something we can work on and expand at a later date. As you all know, the reason you have gone ahead and taken the time to earn your CSA credential is because we have a growing market opportunity with senior clients. This so-called generation, which it's much more than that, but the senior generation, it really covers about 40 years. It is, we talk about the 30-somethings, the 40-somethings. We have all kinds of age bracket definitions for the other phases of our life, but then we lump 40 years of people into one bracket and call it seniors. And it's a huge audience for us. And as we know, as professionals working in the marketplace, they're not all the same. And we can't just take everyone who's 60, 70, 80, and 90 and treat them all the same. But one of the more interesting things is it's tougher to segment this part of the market into groups of 10 years or so, because there are differences within each age group. We can have 60-year-olds who are perhaps behave a little what we consider older or have not aged as well as other 60-year-olds. And on the other hand, we may have 80-year-olds who are living their life much like they did when they were still 50. So we have big variances in this population, mostly because it's defined more by their daily activities than it is by their actual age. I know you know the statistics, but just briefly, again, when we're talking about the size of the market, it is estimated we will double our senior population By the year 2040, our 40-some million seniors will be over 80 million, and will be 20% of our total population. Currently, we have a little over 18% of our homes have elderly owners. That will increase to 40% of homes owned by seniors by the year 2040, which is very significant in terms of finance, real estate, insurance, and all those types of things. Currently, 6.5 million older people require assistance with their ADLs. As CSAs, you know that ADL stands for Activities of Daily Living. And of course, that's significant because these are the people who are seeking additional services, whether it's home care or moving to community, particularly assisted living. When we think about location, home transition, 32% of those 85 and older are relocating annually. Typically about 70% of those are staying within the same county. And then by 2030, one of the more significant events, more of the working adults of that middle age bracket that contributes the most to the working population will be caring for their parents than children. And again, I know you are aware of this, that we have an entire societal shift where we're becoming more about parent care than child care as the population continues to age. And of course, what that means is there is a need for more services to support that parent care. And of course, that's why you all have taken time to add this client to your focus in your business. Life transitions. Overall, as we go through our lives from the time we're born, we experience common transitions, right? We have major events in our life that change the way we live. They change where our focus is. They change our financial situation, our family situation, obviously our social situations, and these are our common transitions. So if we were to name a few of those, it would be moving out of the house for the first time. It is getting your first job, getting married, having children, getting a promotion, empty nesting, so on and so forth. There are many, many such transitions. These changes are always triggered by a significant event, and they vary in intensity. We have, perhaps we are transitioning our job, we're getting a new job, but we're staying in the same office, which is a much less intense transition than if we're getting a new job and it is overseas. So obviously there's big variances in the changes in our lives, and each and every one of those changes throughout our entire span of life presents an opportunity for us to grow through that transition, right? We have the chance to take the change, adjust to it, decide how we're going to work through it, hopefully have time to plan for it, and then get through it and see what's on the other side. Very complex changes in our life, such as moving, require support before the transition, kind of a planning stage, during, and then again after the transition. The more support we have, usually the more seamless the transition is, and usually the better we are on the other side of the event. And there goes the tree planting. So sorry. Later life transitions are a little bit different and a little bit the same. Later life transition is something that we consider as taking place in somebody 60 years and older. It is usually triggered by a life crisis. So there is a triggering event that starts our transition in later life. It could be illness, loss of mobility, loss of a spouse, deterioration of our ADLs, as we already discussed, certain things that will really change our situation, financial crisis. Late life transitions typically involve complex decisions because there's usually more than one factor. It's not just that we have to move to a senior living community, it's that we have to move to a community because our spouse is suffering from a debilitating illness. It could be, combined with cognitive loss. It could be perhaps that due to our loss of mobility, we're having to move back to be near our adult children. So again, there's usually complex decisions, complex factors. There are usually Not always, but typically some family dynamics that play into this. And I'm sure as professionals you guys come across this all the time, where we have a little bit of tug of war going on with family, especially as we're moving around the country or trying to decide where as senior adults we're going to end up after this life crisis or this triggering event. Many times there are medical and mental, as I said, cognitive impairment issues involved. And typically, a late life transition, when we're talking about a change to our home environment, will include symptoms of RSS. We'll get to RSS in a minute. I just want to mention the study results that are on the top right-hand side of the screen. A number of years ago, Holmes Ray did an evaluation of senior stressors, and moving, or relocation, was the third highest stressor in the life of a senior out of the 10 most stressful events that were on the list, which included things like death of a spouse, divorce. Those two were higher than moving. Moving was third, though, which is really significant when you consider some of the other ones included death of a child, your own personal illness, financial issues, and so on and so forth. So this relocation piece, this home transition piece, is really very significant to all of your clients, which is one reason we want to take the time to discuss it today. Relocation stress syndrome was established as a valid nursing diagnosis in 1992. It is described as the physiological and psychological disturbances that happen when somebody is changing their home environment, when they're relocating. This was based on 40 years of data. Some of the significant factors regarding RSS that you may want to consider when you're working with your clients is that the impact is greater. The symptoms and the after effects of RSS are greater when there's no opportunity for a gradual transition, when somebody is more or less yanked out of their current environment and thrown into another one without time to assimilate, to become more comfortable with where they're headed. I know when we look at age-in-place opportunities and we advocate for keeping our senior clients in their homes, this is one of the reasons, right? We don't want to make that environmental change. But the reality is, oftentimes there is a need for our clients to move, and so we need to consider how that process is being managed. RSS can be complicated by the other things that we mentioned just moments ago on the other screen. Additional losses, loss of financial stability, loss of a spouse, loss of our personal possessions when we're forced to downsize. It can be complicated by grief or sadness, changes in culture, and changes to our daily routine. If you were to, I think many of you may be aware as you work with senior clients or you observe your own parents, that over time we develop our habits. And I don't know about you, but my parents have pretty much the same exact routine every day for, oh my gosh, I would say the last 20 years. And every time we have to do something different, it really throws them for a loop. And it's like we can add one little event a day, and that's almost exhausting. And of course, not all clients are like that, but it's not uncommon for our older clients. So when we are changing their entire routine and moving to a completely foreign environment like a senior living community, you can imagine the impact that has on an individual. The symptoms of RSS include dependency, confusion, anxiety, depression, and withdrawal. It is very common when we're working with clients who are moving from their home to experience what is almost a temporary memory loss, because and it stems from the confusion and this increased amount of activity and processing that the client's not used to. And we'll even have situations where the family members believe, wow, something's wrong with mom and dad, we've developed dementia overnight. And in many cases, that is not the case. It is simply that all of these complicating factors, all of this increased activity is just creating a processing problem. And usually once we can help the client feel more comfortable about the situation, or as it says in the top right-hand corner there, award a sense of control to the client, that some of these RSS symptoms are relieved. That sense of control is the key factor in helping people get over this relocation stress syndrome. It is helping people be involved in the choices that are being made for them. I'm sorry. And it is helping them make even the smallest choices. You know, we often have, and again as professionals, I know you see this all the time, or we're guilty of it ourselves, but we have situations where adult children feel the need or feel it's their responsibility to take over for their parents, or in many cases feel they know better than their parents, than their aging parents, and want to make decisions for them. When we take that control from our clients, or when family members take that control from our clients, it actually contributes to this stress syndrome. It actually can make the client more depressed, more anxious, more resistant to change, and it may actually slow down the decision-making process because all of a sudden they've lost control of something, and they are, it affects them, you know, as we say, psychologically. As CSAs, what I ask you to consider out in the marketplace is to, as you're out working with senior clients and developing this particular market for yourselves, is to ask yourself, what are you doing to change your focus as a business person in your business practices as a CSA? How are you changing your focus with each one of your clients? How are you addressing these types of needs that an older client might have that are different from your younger clients? And by that I don't just mean the clearly defined medical issues, but taking a look at where they are in their where they are in making changes to their life, and helping them by understanding the processes that they're going through. How are you helping to educate the client that, yes, we know what you're going through. You are part of a community of people, a growing community of people who are having to make these same financial decisions later in life, that are having to evaluate long-term care insurance, that are looking at how to, apply a reverse mortgage to their home. This is a growing segment of our population, and we're all learning about this together and making the client feel very comfortable that they're part of a community of people that is going through the same process. How are you at helping the adult children understand that process and work with their parents in a way that helps to improve the process and alleviate some of these stressors and things that quite literally can complicate any medical issues that our clients are already suffering from? And then what can you do as CSAs to build your network, to reach out to more and more people and let them know how your focus has changed and why it's changed and what you are doing differently in the marketplace to support this new client? We talk about coordinated care. That's really a term we use more from a medical standpoint with seniors, but it applies to all of us as providers when we're addressing the senior market, that this whole transition process that our client is going through is really performed by a team of providers. There is a lot going on when we have to take the time to establish a financial plan, make decisions about moving to community, make decisions about our current home and getting it on the market, and make decisions about how this person, where they're going to live, and so on and so forth. There's a team of providers involved. None of us as professionals can do all of this ourselves. And how are we communicating within that team to support clients working through the various stages of all these events? So just as a CSA, I'm challenging you to take a look at how you're applying all these things to your new market. Part of that, we feel, is to build your transition team, what we call a transition team. If you have clients that are going through these major lifestyle changes, who are you going to work with? Who are you going to reach out to? Who are you going to market your business to, quite frankly, to help support the clients? And we kind of break that down into 3 different areas that you want to go out and talk to and explain to them how you can help support the client at this stage in their life and going through the changes that they're going through. We have our professional network that we've always worked with as providers, whether we're senior or non-senior focused. We have our aging network, which is more of our new our new focus, our new referral sources, and then we have an additional support network. Many of their responsibilities are new and growing with the changes to our population. So we're going to talk about those. Within the professional network, as I said, it's people you've always worked with. It is the real estate community, it's the legal community, medical, financial, insurance. These are all people that we have always networked with. It is important that, you know, if you just earned your CSA designation within the last month and you put it on your business card, are you out telling all of these people that you've always worked with what you've done and why you've done it and how your CSA designation is going to help you change your focus and address your older clients differently? I think that's the key to this, is to reach out to your network and let them know what you're doing differently, because there's other people in the network who are doing similar things to you, and it's important that we all connect and make sure that we can support the client completely with all their changes. Our aging network, and again, I'm mostly focused on the home and the home transition pieces here, but it's pretty broad. We've got our housing communities, and I don't know how many of you on this particular web system, I don't know how to do an instant poll, I'm sorry to say, but I don't know how many of you have knocked on the doors of all the senior living communities, taken the tours out there, talked to the administrators and the marketers so that they understand what your services are. The same for all your social services. You know, there's a area agency on aging in every county. So have you talked to them? Are you a resource for them already? And it's interesting because I get a lot of professionals who come back to me and say, well, you know what, I don't really know that I want to be on the social services list because I'm going to get a lot of people who need, you know, financial support, or they can't afford my services. But, you know, becoming part of that network is important. There's a lot that goes on there in support of aging people. There's a lot of volunteerism opportunities. There's a lot of networking opportunities that take you beyond the people who may not necessarily be using your services, but it's building out your network. And as you change your focus and you're focusing on this client, is hardly something that you can ignore. Faith-based organizations, there are many across all faiths in your community, and those are also, again, very important places to approach. I will tell you on a personal level, the veterans hospitals and the veterans clinics are a hotbed of socialization and networking among the seniors. It is amazing how many referrals are made by the people who use the veteran services and who really do socialize quite a bit and exchange a lot of information. So it's one of those untapped resources. Palliative care, hospice, home care, home health, social workers, all of those I'm sure you're all aware of, but again, what message are you sending to these people? How are you networking with them? How are you bringing them into your team of providers? Geriatric care managers, which are, you know, again, what we consider a newer, growing community of providers who are helping with the ADL assessments and age-in-place options. Many of you on this call may be care managers. Adult day, and of course funeral services in support of families, because when we support senior clients, we cannot ignore the fact that many situations are going to end up with a deceased client, and we will be working through issues, end-of-life issues with family members and related professionals. The support organizations I was talking about include, and again, with a focus on the home transition piece, with people that are having to change or choosing to change their home environment and move on, are taking a look at their finances and all of their options to move into a community or buy a single-level housing or move near their children, or really just everything from making changes to their trusts and wills and so on and so forth. But within that network, we also have professional organizers who are working a great deal, more and more, with seniors these days, especially on downsizing issues. We have home stagers and designers who have also started to focus on the senior market a little bit, as the real estate community, the SRES senior real estate specialists focus on that same market. Estate sale and auction is a very important piece. There is a new franchise, Caring Transitions, which manages everything from the organizing, downsizing through to the estate sale. There are a couple established organizations that have search websites that you can find providers who are out working with clients who, again, are important referral sources for you. Movers, junk removal companies, home improvement services. I think some of you may be aware that the Home Builders Association has their CAPS program, Certified Age-in-Place Specialist program, who are individuals who are focused on the age-in-place home environment. So again, a very important networking resource while you are out there. You know, as it says here, every member of the team, so every member of this network that you're building has a job to do. We really don't do each other's jobs. Everybody has specific responsibilities in this, and while there is a little bit of overlap, as professionals, we have legal license to do certain things and we don't have license to do other things. Part of my responsibility, or my choice of responsibility in the marketplace, is helping professionals understand what other professionals are doing in this marketplace. That's one of the reasons that I started the MoveSeniors.com, is so we have a group of professionals that the consumer can find, but all who are doing their job yet working together to refer business to each other. It's important to me that as we have specialists in the senior market, they know where to go when they need additional help. So this is what I call regulating the unregulated. Of course, if you're in insurance, finance, real estate, law, those types of things, yes, there are certainly regulations that you have to follow. There are state boards and everything else related to your services. However, a lot of the services that are provided to seniors are not regulated. And it's a frightening thing when you think about all you learn through your CSA training about what can happen with a client, how fragile our clients are, and you think of those things in terms of liabilities. You really start to understand that this is working with a senior client within their home, within their transition, home care, you know, even driving them down the street are things that shouldn't be taken lightly. So a number of organizations have taken steps to assure that the professionals within their network have a good understanding of what's going on. You guys as CSAs have obviously taken that step. You've gone out, you've learned about this client, you've learned what's different, you've learned how to address the client, and you have adopted certain standards as a professional. And I encourage you, as you go out and build your transition team, this team that can support everything that your clients are going through right now, that you look at other professionals who have taken those similar steps. This is, you know, our alphabet soup out there. Someone asked me the other day, you know, if we could turn this into a song. But, you know, and there are many more certifications other than those listed here, but these are some of the more prominent ones. One we're talking about supporting seniors. We have the Certified Age-in-Place Specialists, which, as I mentioned, those are the builders, contractors, architects, and even designers who are working on the age-in-place issues. CELA, Certified Elder Law Attorney. I believe you're all familiar with the NALA network, National Association of Elder Law Attorneys. CES is in the auction area of things, Certified Estate Sales Specialist. Of course, you as CSAs. There are several care manager certifications. These are 2. Professional organizers, if you have a need to network with them, there are actually certifications in that industry to show who the more experienced practitioners are. CRTS is the Certified Relocation and Transition. That covers a broad range of people from movers to realtors to organizers, home stagers, designers. And then AMSA, American Moving and Storage Association, does not have a senior-specific program, but they have taken great steps to take a look at the standards of moving companies, interstate movers, and they've put together their pro-mover designation, which is something I have to say is just a wonderful tool in the marketplace as we're doing something as simple as recommending a mover to our clients. The whole point of this conversation is, of course, to reintroduce you to the concept of late life transition, to just give you a different way to think about what your clients are going through and to challenge you, as I said before, to think about that differently and how are you going to address this client differently. You know, all these designations, I talk to all of these groups. I teach a lot of different topics to all the groups that I just mentioned, and I will tell you, we're all guilty of going out, taking the program, putting the initials behind our name, and then just assuming everybody knows what we're doing. But as you can see by that long list of initials, it gets a little confusing for the marketplace and for our clients to know who does what. So it's really up to us to do more than just put the initials behind our name, even if it is a growing market. So again, when we're talking about marketing, building our team, and then marketing together, and we're working with seniors, it's important that we consider this. Even though we have one new focus in the marketplace, our new focus is our new senior client, we have a couple different marketing strategies that have to be applied. We don't just change our marketing in one way, we actually have to change it in a couple ways. We are marketing to our network, so that's the professional network we just talked about. And with that network, we're going to use some of our more traditional marketing strategies. We will go to networking events. I'm sure many of you belong to or have started business networking, affiliations and alliances. That's the word I'm looking for. You go to monthly meetings and you get together and you bring in more and more professionals so that they understand what you're doing, and how your business is specializing in serving seniors. You go to trade shows. I list the ASA show here just because I know that they have them in every state, and there are many, many of them in every state, but the ASA shows are the Senior Housing Network. So obviously, if that's one of our audiences, that's a great place to be, not necessarily to have our own booth and to put up that kind of expense unless it makes sense for your business, but to walk the shows and to build our network. Group coffees and lunches are great. I have several here in Illinois, several different people who we've gotten together, met through events that we do at senior communities or events that we're, different training events and things, and we'll get together and have little planning coffees and lunches and just talk about different ideas to approach our own marketplace. The thing is, with all of this, is keeping it local. You know, it's great when you look at an organization like the Society of Senior Advisors or an association like the National Association of Realtors to promote our designations and to talk about it and to market it for us, but really our business is developed at the local level, and that's why all of this is so important, to build that local network, that local transition team. When I say take the tour, I mean take the time to get out and find out what the other providers do. If you're looking for more about auctioneers and estate sales specialists, go to the auctions and the estate sales. If you're looking, you know, to find more about a senior living community or you want to get in the door, go take the tour. You know, there's a lot of things you can do to get out there and understand how your network is addressing your client differently, because you might be surprised how that translates into business for you. With this group of people, we can still market through the internet and using our social media. There's a really active group at the Seniors Transition Network on LinkedIn that's people from across a wide range of providers. I think some of you, or many of you, are already on that. But it's a lot of interesting topics and discussions going on revolving around all these different types of transitions our senior clients are going through. I mentioned over here on the left, for a reason. It says the sales closing rate for senior living communities is less than 5%. What I mean by that is senior living communities, especially these days, are quite challenged to attract incoming residents, to entertain their perspectives, to bring them into the community so they can try and close the sale. So they're always looking for professionals who can come in, give presentations to their perspectives, add something a little different to their community in terms of education or knowledge or write-ups or articles or anything. So that's an opportunity for you, again, to address your team, your network differently, and perhaps provide some of that entertainment or information to the senior communities. They're always looking for a reason to get that face time with the client because they're not closing a great number of them. So they need to see hundreds of them and bring hundreds of them through the door, and you can help with that. Then the second part of our marketing strategy is to change our consumer strategy, and this is probably a little more difficult because the whole world seems to be moving to this electronic marketing, right? And we're doing a lot that is electronic. However, we forget that our consumer isn't necessarily right there with us. The adult children are, but in many cases, but the seniors themselves are not. It says 42% of people over 50 use the internet regularly, and that was a big jump from last year. I want to say that went from like 30 to 42. But only 13% are using social networking, which is a really small segment of your population. So we're spending all this time social networking to each other, which is great, but we have to realize that we're not hitting our senior consumer that way, which again, depending on your business, may or may not be an issue, because are you talking to your referral network? Are you talking to the adult children, and not so much marketing directly to the seniors themselves? But they still need to know who you are. So how do we get to them? Communications to our senior consumers are personal, they're direct. It is contacting them where they live, so to speak. And so it's through the senior centers and those types of things. They want information from us. In some cases, I think the senior centers on occasion may inundate our clients with information, but it oftentimes seems to be the same information over and over and over. So if you have something new or different that you can bring to the table, that's always a great thing. Talk to your local community houses. I assume you have those in your area where they do classes and things for seniors. Can you just do a 1-hour workshop one time on something that's new and different and bring in an older audience? Be prepared to address dual audiences where we have both the adult children and the senior client. Again, what I see here sometimes is we talk more to the adult child and not so much to the senior. We need to be sure that we're addressing the needs of both. We need to bring solutions to the Employee Assistance Program, to HR directors on where we have smaller scale companies within our community, where we can go and do lunch and learns for an HR department and help the adult children understand what services you have. Volunteerism and sponsorship, as you know, it cannot be replaced. We don't always have time for it or make time for it, but it's how we build our network. And then referrals, of course, with the seniors are probably one of the best ways to get the word out. So I don't mean to turn this into a marketing issue. It kind of has. You know, again, the whole goal here is to just take a different look at the transitions your clients are going through, understand how it's affecting them on a larger scale than we may first see. Oftentimes we're brought into a situation when it's in crisis, when that triggering event has happened, and we're asked to deal with it right then and there, and we don't always see the big picture. We don't always network with all the other providers that may be involved with that same client. So that's what we talk about when we're talking about a transition network or a transition team. And with that, that is all I have today. We may come back and do age and place at a later date, which was originally on the agenda. If you have any questions for me, you may contact me directly. And other than that, I hope you all have a very productive day. Hopefully you've gained 1 or 2 pieces of information out of this webinar, and we certainly look forward to talking with you in the future. Thank you.